This is Oak Alley Plantation in Louisiana, and it reminds you of how the most extreme uses of architecture as a fantasy about classical civilization were being created here in the Deep South. Everyone who's seen Gone with the Wind knows the idiom: white pillars, avenues of ancient trees. Now, ancient Athenians didn't live on this scale, but industries like King Cotton created tremendous wealth. And since these planters believed their true model was the slave-owning elite of ancient Athens, they built as they felt the Greeks would have done if they'd had the luck to be born Americans. Despite its belief in preserving an aristocratic way of life, the slave South between 1800 and the Civil War produced nothing in the way of painting or sculpture that could compare with the achievements of the North. It was the songs of the slaves that would create a new American music by laying the deep roots of the blues and of jazz. But in the visual fabric of the master's life, there was no ferment. It was provincial and gracious, but not inventive. Stagnancy was built into Southern culture in all areas except architecture. There, the longing for a classical past still functions as a powerful image of nostalgia. Understandably, I guess, most Americans visiting the great antebellum houses prefer not to think too much about the atrocious system that put them there. The black bodies under the white columns don't show up in the restorations. Yet Charles Dahlgren, who built Dunleith House in Natchez in Mississippi as his town residence in the 1850s, didn't feel that he had anything to hide. Like all his fellow planters on the eve of the Civil War, he was completely convinced of the immutable rightness of slavery and of what it brought them. This place isn't a mask for anything. In places like this, I think of William Yeats's lines on the great country houses of Ireland, which run, "Some vile and bitter man, some powerful man, brought architect and artist in, that they, bitter and violent men, might raise in stone the sweetness all had longed for night and day, the gentleness that none had ever known." This was once a colossal plantation house near Jackson, Mississippi, burnt to the ground in the Civil War in 1864. An American pastrum, worthy of Piranesi, or perhaps of Thomas Cole. The end of empire, and also maybe the end of the Jeffersonian belief in classical architecture as the sign of democracy. Americans would go on to build millions of classical columns, north and south, but none would have quite the purity of meaning they had once possessed when the Republic was new.
Visit America.